I think we can all agree that these are the most beautiful journals you have ever seen. And I think that these are the most beautiful journals I have ever seen. And I made them all by myself. So today I am going to teach you how to make your very own Louise Carmen Paper Republic inspired journal. Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jazz, and for those of you who don't know me, I make beauty and lifestyle content here on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Today we are going to be doing something super fun. We are going to be making our very own Louise Carmen inspired leather journal cover because these babies are expensive and you don't even get the full experience unless you go to Paris. And I don't know about you, but I don't have money to go to Paris and to also get one of these. So I decided to invest in the supplies and be able to make be able to make them different sizes and be able to make them different colors. So today I'm going to teach you exactly how it is that I make these journals. Part of my New Year's resolution next year is to get into journaling more, and these have definitely inspired me to actually stay committed to journaling because it just makes journaling so fun and so intimate. Look at how beautiful these covers are. Again, I'm going to teach you step by step and all the supplies that you need to make these beautiful covers. So let's get started. Before we get started, let's go over all of the supplies that you're going to need first. First, you are going to need your piece of leather. When I first got this, it was actually twice the size. I've already made a couple of covers using just this piece of leather. I got this at a local shop. They sell it by the hide, which means that they don't sell it cut for you. So it was a little bit pricier than I would have liked. I believe it was $50, $60, but I'm going to leave some links in the description below for where you can get cut pieces of leather, different colors. It doesn't have to be local, but don't forget to support your local shops as well. Next, you're going to need a rotary cutter. I definitely recommend this over using scissors when it comes to cutting the leather. This just makes it much easier to work with. It's much more precise, and honestly, it's quicker. A cutting mat, okay? I have this big piece of cutting mat that I got from Amazon right on top of my desk. If you look closely, there's a bunch of markings from all the other covers that I've been making. If you do not use a cutting mat, you can also use a cutting board, but if you do not use something to protect your furniture or your floor, I am warning you now, you will damage your furniture. You will probably poke a hole through your table or leave some pretty gnarly scratches. So I'm warning you now, please use a cutting mat or use a cutting board. You're gonna need some scissors. We're gonna be using the scissors to make our template. You're also gonna need a ruler. I really like this one because it has a nice little corner here. You don't have to have tape, but it is helpful. A pencil or a pen. Some elastic cords for the binding. I got this whole pack on Amazon. You're gonna need a leather rounding tool. This one is optional and you'll see why later in the video. You're gonna need some leather hole punchers. Me from the future, I also forgot to mention, you're gonna need a hammer. Okay, so add a hammer to your list. And lastly, a little grommet tool kit. Everything else that you're gonna need to complete the journal is just fully up to your customization style. So charms, clips, pen holders, and inserts to go inside of the actual journal. Now, obviously the price of all of this is pretty high up there. It's not gonna cost you $20 or $30. But again, you can make so many covers with just one piece of leather, and you can use the tools to make as many covers as you want. So you can make many for yourself, or you can end up gifting them to a friend. When I tell y'all, I have literally nonstop been making these covers. So let's get started. I'm gonna teach you exactly how to make a cover. We're gonna use this piece of leather today. The journal cover size that we're gonna be making today is an A5 standard size, which means any notebooks that measure an A5 size fit in this cover. The other one that I made is more of a little pocket journal. This is an A6 journal. This is fully up to you. You can customize it however you want and make it whatever size you want. Anything that has to do with measurements, numbers, technical stuff, I'm gonna put it on the screen because I don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing and mess you up. So please always refer to the numbers that I have on the screen. I used 2 pieces of paper from an old magazine, and I use this to make my template. All you want to do is tape the 2 pieces of paper together and then just measure out the exact sizes that I put on the screen, and now you have a little template. Guys, this template is beat up, okay? Like, I have used this so many times. I should probably make a new one. First thing we are gonna do is flip over the leather so that the rougher side is facing us. We're just gonna measure out exactly where we want this. All right, guys, I did switch to standing, and the reason for that is because I want to be able to put all of my weight into this leather when I start cutting it. I do have a standing desk, so that does help a ton. Now, this is why I said the tape was optional, because you don't necessarily need to tape it, but it does help to have this template, just stay put. So I like to put a little piece of tape underneath so it doesn't move around when I'm cutting the leather so I don't mess up. Now I am going to be using my ruler as a straight edge. You do not want to just eyeball this and then mess up. It also protects your fingers because the rotary cutter is extremely sharp. So now that I've cornered this really well, I have the ruler here right up against the template, and this is as straight as I can possibly make it. We are going to get to cutting. You want to put a lot of weight into this rotary cutter because the leather is really thick, so it might not fully cut if you don't put your whole literal upper body weight into it. Also, when you're cutting using the rotary cutter, try to keep the rotary cutter straight and not angled. That way you can make sure that the edges of the journal are as straight as possible. And again, I am literally putting my entire body weight into this. All right, I cut one corner. So this is my scrap piece. Again, I can make so many other covers with just this one scrap piece left. All right, guys, we have our piece of leather. It is cut and it is ready to get hole punched and accessorized to be a cover. Now we are going to round out the corners. The reason why I said this was optional and not necessary is because you don't have to round out the corners. You can leave them sharp as is, but personally, I love the rounded corner look. All right, so this is really easy. All that you're gonna do is you're gonna place your tool right on the edge of the corner and you're just gonna hammer it in and it'll come right off. And you should be left with the sharp little corner edge. We're gonna do that to all of our corners. All right, it is time to make our holes now. This part is a little bit tedious, especially if you're a perfectionist like me. You are going to stress about making sure that the holes are perfectly spaced and in the right spot. But honestly, you guys, this part does not matter that much. If you are meticulous, I completely get it, but trust me, you won't be able to notice a few little millimeters of a mess up anyways. Again, I'm putting the measurements on the screen just so I don't accidentally say the wrong thing, but we're gonna go ahead and mark out where the first set of holes at the bottom are going to go. I'm gonna use my pencil to make the first marking. So the first marking I'm making is how far I want the first hole to actually start from the left edge, and these set of holes are going to be for your side binding. So all these holes you see here, that is what we're doing right now, and this is called, again, the side binding. Since I already know where I want my holes, I don't have to put in the inserts and measure that out. But again, this is fully just your journal, so you can add the holes and the side binding anywhere you want. If you want them shifted more to the left, if you want them shifted more to the right, that is completely up to you. Just keep in mind, wherever you put the holes, that is how the trifold will fold. So I personally like how this trifold folds, where you can still see some of this piece right here and this doesn't come completely over, which is why I made my side binding to be right there. So again, if you want the journal to look exactly like mine and you trust my measurements, then follow what is on the screen. 5.5 inches from the left edge is honestly my sweet spot. I really like that placement. And then in terms of how far up I want it to be 5 millimeters from the bottom edge. And then right on top of that, I want my second set of holes to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that. 5 millimeters right next to that, I want the second hole to start, and we're gonna go ahead and mark right on top, which is 5 millimeters right on top. And just keep going with that same pattern. So 5 millimeters to the right, and then 5 millimeters right on top. Now with those measurements, you should have a total of 6 holes. So to make the holes, we are gonna grab our hole puncher. I will have everything linked. Every single item that I use linked in the description if you're interested. What you're gonna do is you're gonna place it right on top of the hole that we made. You're gonna grab your hammer and you are just gonna get to hammering. And this literally goes right through the leather, you guys, and it leaves dents in my cutting mat, which is again why I'm saying if you do not have a cutting mat underneath, you are going to damage your table, I promise you. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I am using the 2 millimeter hole puncher, which honestly, you can make them bigger. You can also use bigger elastics, but this is just the size that I really like. We're going to hammer and make all 6 holes now. This is what it should look like once you have all of the holes. Again, it's not gonna be perfectly straight. It's pretty hard actually to get it perfectly straight unless you have a machine or a really good eye. But I am happy as long as it looks straight. We're gonna flip over our cover and we're gonna do the exact same thing to the bottom. So again, measure 5.5 inches from the left edge, which and now when you switch the orientation, it's technically the right edge. Make sure you do not mess up with these measurements, you guys. It helps to just make sure that the holes from the top to the bottom align. And then we are also going to measure 5 millimeters from the bottom edge here, which again, switching the orientation is now technically the top edge. Gonna go ahead and mark our other holes as well. Let's go ahead and make our holes. We're gonna go ahead and flip over our leather and then we're gonna make the markings for the 2 holes in the back. I like the 2 holes to be at these measurements, but of course you can measure this out yourself and see what you like. I would personally just suggest making sure that it is in the middle because otherwise it will drive you crazy, trust me. All right guys, we are done with all of the hole making. We're gonna move on to our grommets now, which honestly to me is the fun part. It is a little bit tedious, but it's just so fun to see everything basically start to come together. So for the grommets, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put this thick side of the grommet into this little tool. I don't know what this is called, but it looks like a little hole poker thing. And you're gonna use that to thread the grommet through the hole. You're gonna grab this little cylinder looking tool. You're gonna flip over the leather and using this tool, this little hole poker thing, you're gonna poke it through the grommet and the hole and you're gonna use that as a tool to center it into the little cylinder. Guys, I'm sure all of these tools have names. I will put them on the screen somewhere, but for easy understanding, we're just gonna call it the little hole poker and the little cylinder tool. Once you feel like the groove of the grommet is in that cylinder thing and everything is really nice and stable, now you're gonna grab your hammer and you're only gonna hammer a little bit, okay? Not a lot of force, not a lot of hammering. You'll start to actually kind of hear what it sounds like once it's done. And once you're done doing that, the grommet should be sitting very flush with the leather. And we're gonna do that for all of the grommets and holes. Alright guys, we are back to sitting down because your girl got tired. I do apologize for the lighting in advance. The sun is setting much quicker than I would like it to. But doing fun activities like these little hobbies that take up time, just honestly makes the darkness and the seasonal depression go away. So I definitely recommend adding new little hobbies to your list. All right guys, all of the grommets are in. This is looking really beautiful. We are officially done with the hammering, so I apologize in advance if you live with other people and it was so noisy, but that is enough hammering for today. Now we're gonna get into the fun stuff, which is customization. I have a bunch of elastics here. I'm gonna choose a color. I am really leaning towards this blue. You can choose any color you want, and the best part about these elastics is you can also change the color whenever you want. But this blue with this brown is just, it's giving me joy. So we are going to do the blue. Now for the elastics, you want it to measure about 1.5 lengths of the height of the journal. So I already cut my elastic. It measures about 13.5 inches. Obviously you can mess around with that. If you like things to be a little bit tighter, if you want things to be looser, you can completely adjust the length of the elastics. It is up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and cut 3 pieces for my side binding. Now we're gonna start to thread this through. So you wanna go in through the bottom hole on the bottom edge and then come out through the top hole on the bottom edge. Bring that top piece all the way to the top and do the exact same thing at the top. So thread it through the bottom, pull it out, and then you're gonna thread it through the top. Now this is where you would add charms if that's what you're looking for. I'm only gonna add a few charms, so I'm not gonna put it in this elastic yet. Now you're just gonna tie it off in the middle here. It is going to be tight, but that is what you want. You want the leather to kind of come in a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and do our second elastic, and this is where I'm actually gonna add a charm. So I have this cute little star charm that I'm gonna be adding to this right at the bottom. I don't really like a bunch of charms coming out of the notebook, so I'm gonna leave this as is for now. Now we are going to cut off the excess elastic so it's not in the way. Again, the leather will look like this, but that is essentially what you want. This is a good thing. This is okay. All right, now for the fun part, we are going to add in our inserts. The way to add in your inserts is you pull the elastic and you open up the middle of the journal or the notebook, whatever it is you're adding in there, and you just tuck it in there. And that is it, you guys. It's so easy. I used to not understand how it is that these journals actually worked until I did it myself. And I was like, oh, wow, that is honestly so convenient and so cute. So this is what we're working with so far. Everything looks great. The last thing that we need is the elastic in the back. So let's go ahead and add that. I usually just eyeball this part. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. You're gonna thread it through the inside of the journal, out and in through the other hole. This is where you would add a charm if you wanted one in the front like this. For me and my preferred tightness with the elastic, it measures about 11 inches. I tie it and then I cut off the excess elastic. We tuck in our notebooks, fold in our first side and then our second side, and we pull our elastic all the way to the front. If you want this to be a little bit tighter, obviously you can make the elastic shorter, which is gonna make this tighter. Now, as you can see, because this is such a fresh piece of leather, the leather is not going to naturally fold yet. It's gonna sit awkwardly like this, where it kind of just looks like it wants to open up. So what you can do is you can leave this overnight and lay something on top of this to kind of condition the leather to fold like this. And that is it, you guys. That is how you make your leather journal cover. You can obviously customize this more by adding pictures. You can also add some clips that holds everything together. You can add pen clips. You can add other clear inserts to hold stickers or other photos you like. But in general, this is a good base for the journal. This is exactly how I made my other journals. I love this journal cover, but I already have way too many. So I do want to give this one away to one of you guys. If you're interested, I'm going to leave the giveaway rules in the description below. And I hope this goes to someone who loves journaling, someone who loves sketching and is going to cherish and value this, because again, I made it with my own two hands for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments below. I hope you guys have fun making your own little journal covers. And if you do, please send me a picture on Instagram. I want to see them. I want to see all the fun journal covers you're making. And that is it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.